Okay, here's the second video of the buck converter, the 5 amp, the XL 4015 5 amp step down converter. What I did was brought in 19 volts. It's at 1.5 amps because the my other converter is only 15 volts, so I have to use this one. So we're gonna charge this battery, and the battery is at, let's see what the voltage the battery is at right now. So the battery voltage is at 15, 25, 24. So we're gonna start the charge right now. And as it charges, it's gonna go up, and we're gonna check the heat. See how hot it's getting. Alright, we're gonna straight up to 1626. We're gonna check the heat of the we'll let it charge for here for a second. Then we'll put a thermal test, see how hot it is here in a second. We're at about 90. Boy, this one-way diode is really getting hot. Let me pause and I'll be right back. I'm gonna change this diode out. Alright, changing that diode out. Alright, we're charging again. Changing out that diode jumped it up quick. Changing out that diode gave us more output. We're at 102 degrees. Still semi-warm. So with them heat sinks on there, it really absorbs that heat. It really helps the boost converter absorb the heat. And now you can sit there and let that charge. If it's down to like 13% or 14, hook it up and it'll get pretty warm. You get about 180. Sometimes you get to like 200 some degrees, but it just keep on absorbing the heat. The boost converter does not tire up. Usually when I would buy them and I wouldn't put any heat sinks on it, it'll still charge pretty good, but then eventually it'll tire up because that little chip will get so hot that it just burns itself up. And that capacitor is pretty warm. This capacitor is it's at 120 some degrees. Yeah, I'll be pushing these little things to their limit. But they do pretty good. Man, that capacitor is, that diode is pretty hot too. Well, we'll see how it do. We'll sit there and let it run for a while. And we're only pushing out 1.5 amps, so it's charging at a nice rate. I don't see why they say these are whole 5 amps, because the 1.5 is pretty warm. but I have ran more amps through them, and they do fine. We was at 1526. Let's see how much charge we have got put on it so far. We was at 1526, right? We're at 1560, about 62, 61. It's gonna go down a little bit more until it settles. Might go to 58. Because the BMS has to balance the batteries. But it does pretty good. A couple of hours. How long did it take to charge it? And it'll be all topped off. They'll be all evenly charged. They do pretty good. I use them for all type of charging applications. I put all type of heat sinks on them. Like this right here, I was running it at 5 volts. 5 volts. How many amps? It was at 5 volts. Can't see the amperage. 5 volts. To get my shades, it was at 5 volts, 2000 milliamps. So what I did, I ran this through a step-up converter to 17 volts, and I was able to charge this off 5 volts with a step-up converter. It's pretty awesome. And it actually charged it up fully, and this didn't even get that warm. It got semi-warm, but it didn't get too warm. So you can take and use them in all type of applications. They don't have to actually be 15 or 20 volts to run through them. You can take it run through 5 volts at 1 amp or something, or 2 amps, through the step-up converter. Run it through the step-up converter and charge it. Or if you want to take and keep the power constant, you can take and run it through the step-up converter and step it up to, like, if you're charging something that's like 16 volts or 28 volts, you can step it up to like 30 or 30 some volts through here, and then bring it through the step down converter to the right voltage you want to charge it at. It'll keep that consistency of that voltage the whole entire time till it charges what you're charging, and then it'll stop. It'll kick down and start dropping off once the BMS has start shutting down because the batteries are topping off. Let's see what the how hot it is now. We're at 120 degrees. If you look, we're at 120 degrees right there. Right there, 120 degrees. We'll check it again. 100. This wire pretty warm too. This wire is at it's just 122 degrees. Let's see how hot the heat sink is on the bottom. Heat sink on the bottom is running pretty cool. It's only just a little bit under 100. 91. Right here up under the chip it's running pretty cool. It's just 90. And it's pretty warm. Usually I would just run this top like this and I wouldn't put a bottom, and this would get a lot hotter than what it is now. But with it absorbing off from both of them, the chip is staying extra cool. So this is just a new way I'm doing it now. But this diode is pretty warm. It's pretty warm because it's not letting that power come back through. It's pretty warm. It's at 112 degrees. 113 degrees. It's pretty warm. But they usually get warm, pretty warm. Wow, that capacitor is at 160 degrees. Capacitor at 160, look at that. The heat sink is at I have seen them get like to 200 and some degrees and they still run. What you get for like $2 or $3, you get like 5 for a little bit under $10, something like that. So if it fails, it's not out a lot of money. It's just something cheap that does a pretty good job for DIY, you know, making a little Bluetooth or something. You can use these to charge your batteries. And you can also get your, if you got them lined up, you can also get your fan to put on it and it'll keep it cool. And there's another thing I like about this buck converter. Once this right here reaches its maximum, like the 16.6 volts, whatever it takes to, it tops off at, this little light right here is going to kick off. It's going to turn off. It's going to turn off and it's going to stop putting output to it. As much output. It's going to sit there and go like in a normal mode or something. However they got it designed, it does pretty good. See, the capacitor has cooled down. See, it's at 108 degrees, 113.99. So it done cooled down already. Still warm. Now let's see what we get right now. So we're at 15.8. It might settle out at about 15.73 or 71. But it keep on going to the top out at 16.6, and then it'll be fully charged. Like tomorrow, I leave it like this. It'll be fully charged. It'll shut off and stop charging. The BMS will shut it off. And it'll stop charging. And this little light right here, kick off. See how it's kicked off? Back to that. When the kicker here is when the light kick on here, it's putting out that 17 volts. And once this start reaching its limit of 17 volts, this light gonna kick off, and I guess the BMS is gonna be at its limit of the battery, and it all just works together. I've been dealing with these for a couple of years. I might not be explaining it exactly how it is, but you know. That's old with a bootleg charger. Making something work for not a lot of money. They do really good. Like I have a 7S 7P battery, a 7S 7P, and I have one of these charging the whole entire battery, and it charges it in like if a couple of hours, and it's fully charged. They work really good. And you get like 5 of them for like a little bit under $10, something like that. But these right here probably be a teeny more. One of them a little more than the other one. You get these in the USA, but you have to get these across seas. It will take a little while longer to get step up, step down converters. Come from Japan. They don't have it in the USA, but the step down converters, you get these right here in the USA. Yep. And I'm gonna check the temp again. See where it's at. Look good. It's at just 113. The bottom one is at it's really cool. This design works a lot better than just having it on top. Like if I took this one and put it there and charged it with this one, it'll charge it and it'll anticipate the heat. But this one going to get extremely hot. It'll be like at 180, 202, 203 degrees. And sometimes it may fail if it get too hot. If the battery's too low and you use one of these, it's going to run it. It's going to run this boost converter really hard to bring that battery up for a long period of time. It's going to stay at that same heat. So you want to put more heat sinks to absorb the heat if the battery has to be charged for a long period of time. And I will use all these for some type of little DIY. I use them all. Make a little Bluetooth or something. Put them in there. For these, you know, make a little Bluetooth and batteries. Like if I put this 3S on this and put one of these in there and you hook it to this, and it'll charge this as I play the speakers. It'll be cordless and works pretty good. We're 1644 right now, and it's starting to get a little warmer all over. The battery really wasn't that low. It was at 15 when we started, but if it was at 13 or 14, you would have seen this get probably twice as hot as it's getting now. It'd probably be up to about 160, 170 for at least about an hour or two until it bring that up. And it really would absorb the heat and help keep the buck converter cool. And we can see why they didn't put any heat sinks on it. It would just probably be pretty costly. And plus, they probably want them to fail, so you buy some more. That is really, really working good. Wow, it's really. And this bottom's starting to get a little warmer. Getting kicked up. But it's only warm all over because it's really absorbing that heat. It's doing a really good job. Usually I couldn't sit there and hold it like this. The thing would be burning up. But it's still only kicking at 1.5 amps. So if you ever had a 2 amps or a 2.3 ounce or some 3 amps, it'll be a lot hotter. Because it'll be more amps coming through it. Charging the battery faster. But at any rate, it will still hold at 3 or 2 amps fine, and it'll get a little hotter, but it'll still go for how long you want to charge the battery for. If you want to charge it 6, 7, 8 hours, it'll charge it 6, 7, 8 hours. It wouldn't have to have no fan or nothing. You might have to do a little fabricating when you do make these to get your right distance. Make sure you don't cover these if you're going to use those. Make sure you don't cover the prongs. You got to turn up and down to adjust the voltage and the amperage. So when you make it, make sure you think you consider not blocking your accessories that you would have to use to make the buck converter work right. If you put a heat sink and it covers the whole thing, you can't get in there and turn these up and down, or you can't um, plug the power in here or on out, whichever way you may use it. You got to consider that too. Or if you're really charging a lot of batteries and you deplenish them a lot, you can make the heat sink come out further this way. Just make it out longer this way, and that'll work fine too. If it's getting too hot for you, you can always see how this one's coming out long this way like this. You can make it even come out like that. I have made them come out this far because they'd be really charging hard. And it works pretty good. It works pretty well. So we're at 16.5. It's going to keep climbing it up.